Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Fly Nubian Money. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, just depending on when you're watching the broadcast or listening to us on Spotify. This is Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. Today, we're discussing a conversation that a lot of Black women can relate to. Should dating take a backseat to motherhood? I am Dr. Javette, your co-host on this day. Our conversation centers around Tamar Braxton. Recently, she shared that she has no desire to date for the next 7 years until her son turns 18. And she's not alone. Many Black women feel that they have to choose between raising their children and pursuing love. One big concern, bringing different men in and out of their home and the impact that could have on their children. But is putting dating on hold truly the best choice? Does it protect our children and give them stability? Or does it leave Black women lonely and struggling financially? More Black women are choosing to stay single until their children are grown. What does that say about our relationships, our community, and the future of Black love? We are going to talk about it today. Again, I'm Dr. Javette, and I am joined on this panel today by our Fly Nubian King, Joe Corley, who is a licensed therapist and mental wellness coach, as well as Ms. Moya. Moya is a tax professional and college funding specialist, and Noma Lenga just popped in. She is the founder of padsforourgirls.com. Welcome. How's everybody doing this morning? Afternoon. It's morning for me in Arizona, so it might be afternoon for y'all, but how y'all doing today? Everybody good?
Doing great, Lene. Nice to
Okay.
see everybody.
You too. All right, so let's start with the first video. We're going to start with Tamar Braxton, and we're going to go to that video, and then we're going to dive into this discussion.
My kid is 11. I probably won't date again until he's 18.
Just hard on yourself.
No. There's no way I'm going to bring another man into his life to be unsuccessful. There's no way, because they're broken because they feel like to get a good woman, these are the things that you have to say. I want a wife. I want a family.
That's what I just said.
I
used to literally be in relationships
yeah.
when you were saying, please don't tell me what you think I want to hear. If you just want to bang, honestly,
say
me
that.
too.
Yeah,
why is you lying? Say it.
Exactly.
They come with a script. Yeah. They come and everything is scripted.
Right.
But you know what? The mask can only stay on for so long.
Right. It's all, everything in the house. I love that, honey. Everything in the dark always come to light.
Exactly.
So, thoughts when you first see this video, when you first hear this commentary. I'm going to start with you, Nomalingo. What are your thoughts when you're hearing this conversation?
So I thought it was interesting that she thinks that those are the only two options, that either she dates or she doesn't date. I'm sure Joe will have more to say about it. You can actually go to therapy, fix yourself, and become a better partner, get into a healthy, functional marriage, and raise your kids within that marriage. There aren't just two options of I'm a basket case and I keep failing here, or I'm just going to quit altogether. Those aren't the only two options, because it has been proven over and over that children do their very best when they're in a healthy, functional two-parent home.
All right. In the chat, let me know your thoughts. When you see this video or you hear this type of conversation about waiting until your children are grown to date, what are your thoughts on that? Let us know over in the chat. Joe, what are your thoughts when you hear this kind of commentary for Black women?
My first thought is I need a new messenger. I need to talk to somebody. I need to talk to somebody else about this. So let's get some of the queens or someone that's dealing with these same issues, so I can have a real understanding from somebody that I actually want to hear from. I mean, I don't see how at this point, like your dating life has been public and online. Like there's literally a show with your dating life. So I don't see now how that or is abstaining from dating can save your son from, I don't know, whatever it is you're trying to save him from. But ultimately, I don't think any woman should be doing this. I don't think that's the answer. I think oftentimes, especially in my work dealing with teens and adolescents, the parents underestimate how aware their children are and how smart they are. So even when you think you're doing something or you're keeping something from your child, most likely you're not. So I don't think if you asked her son if that's what he wanted, I don't think that's what he would say. But I don't know.
So you're saying you think that, I mean, even as a child, the preference is to have two people, a man and a woman, a husband and a wife, or it doesn't may not even be husband and a wife. That's what it should be, but at least there's two different individuals to feed into the child. So a child doesn't necessarily want to be starved of another individual by just having the one.
Let's be clear. The preference is your biological father and your biological mother. You know what I mean? And once we get past that, we gotta make it shake. We gotta do what we gotta do. So if we're not doing what we can to keep the family together at first, then after that, we gotta figure it out.
Okay.
The
What
other
about you,
thing,
Maya?
Lene, is that the child also has a father. That's another option. The child can go stay with their father. Again, statistically, children who live with their father, a single parent home with a father, do better than children who stay with their mother, who's a single parent. Statistically, it's not just my opinion. If you look at how the children fare later in life, and even if you ask them how their experience growing up is, statistically, children who grew up with a single father do much better than children who grew up with a single mother. So that's an option that she's also not thinking about. And then she can go and date whatever she wants or do whatever she wants.
So give her child to his father. Moya, what are your thoughts?
So, okay. So for me, I was married for 14 years. So we have 3 kids. And from there, I haven't introduced anybody as my partner. Like after we separated, I haven't introduced anybody as my partner. Have I dated? Yes, but not in a way. If they ever saw anybody, they've met that person as a friend. I've never introduced somebody else.
So this is the
Why
message.
not?
We need to talk to Moya. I need to
Yeah.
get Moya.
I'm kind of in a similar situation. Me and my son's father dated for X amount of years when I lived in California. And then I decided to move back to Arizona when my son was 5, 6. I'm 48 and I was doing the math the other day. In theory, okay, I would say I've been single. My son's about to be 25, so almost 20 years. In theory, I've dated. I've dated. But when you talk about, I think I'm living from the perspective of either you're married or you're single, right? So if that's the case, then I've been single for 20 years. I think I've had 3 5-year situations, and then I'm spinning the block currently with one of those 5-year situations. But it's a difficult thing to introduce people to your children and then take them away, and then introduce them and then take them away. So why haven't you done it, Moya?
So the way that I grew up, one, you're very particular when you have daughters. And so I have a daughter, so I'm very particular about that. And then the other thing is I just don't want to be in a situation where it happens again. I mean, we were together 14 years. So I rather not introduce somebody that I'm dating. And then, like you said, Dr. Lene, in my mind, we're either single or we're married. And so there isn't an in-between. Well, I know many men are open to in-betweens. I know that it would be a problem for some men.
So go ahead, Joe.
I want to ask both y'all actually. So after you tell us, Lene, why you haven't introduced anybody, or if you have or not, are you worried about creating connections between another partner and your children, and then possibly having that connection disrupted? Is that what we're saying?
So for him, he's already remarried and they have a kid. And so in that case, and then they had a spat, meaning where they separated for a moment. And my daughter came to me crying and she's like, "Mommy, like they're divorcing and what do I do?" And so here I am answering questions to that. And I'm like, "Oh my God, like I'm almost like, why did you do this?" But I get it. In his mind, he's like, that was my wife. That is my wife. So I'm not ready for those conversations. I'd rather have different types of conversations about like, how come you're not doing your push-ups today? Like you said, you want to go to the league. How come we're not doing X amount of free throws? Like I want to have different types of conversations than he left. He's not here anymore.
So you end up being the stable parent in a way. But so for me, I'm gonna be really truthful and very honest. I didn't want to have to choose between my son and a mate. I knew that my son was my first priority. I'm a single mom, and I'll be real transparent, honest. I didn't want to have kids growing up. And I didn't want to have kids because I knew who I was. I'm a Virgo. I'm a perfectionist. I'm selfish. Don't touch my stuff. Don't move my stuff. I love me. I had a mean streak growing up, and I was just like, I shouldn't be a mom. So I knew that I didn't want to have kids. So when I had my son, when I decided to have kids and I had my son, I was like, I gotta throw everything I got into this because I don't know if I'm gonna do a good job. And I thought I was gonna be a horrible mom. And so I didn't give myself the space or the grace to try to be a parent and something else. And so I knew that you can't have a man and put him second or third. And so I just gave all that I had to my son. I still dated. I still did what I did. You know what I'm saying? I still saw people, but it's just between my son, my career and or my school and or my life, a man doesn't want to be third. And so that was how it worked out for me personally. So we're going to get into this because I want to hear what Nomalenga has to say. She's a relationship guru. She's a mom, and this is her jam. So we're going to go to a commercial, and then we're going to come back, and I want to get your opinion on this, Nomalenga.
It's a good show right here. But I'm biased. If you are just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. My name is Tiara Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood, and I'm the proud producer of this show because it is lit. If you want to receive notifications for when we go live Monday through Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All you have to do is text the word Queens to 87948. That's Queens to 87948. That's QUEENS to 87948. Also, if you want to grow your money and not blow your money, all you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. There's all kinds of resources, there's courses, there's free giveaways. There's just no reason to be broke in 2025. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. Obviously, you don't want to be entertained here. You want to know enough to grow. Wait, I need to put that on a shirt. You got to know to grow. Got to know to grow. So know and grow with flynubianmoney.com.
So know and grow with flynubianmoney.com. In order to do that, you have to text the word 87948 to Queens to 87948 so that you can be notified when we're live. You also need to go to flynubianmoney.com and register so that you can get the tools and the resources to know and grow. Okay, Nomalenga, tell me what you think. What are your thoughts on this whole?
The first thing is, I think I'm not a relationship guru.
Well, you have good advice. You believe family is first.
I really do believe that the foundation of everything is family. You're correct on that part. I just wanted us to look at two things a little bit differently. Number one, let's talk about purposeful dating. I believe in dating for marriage, not just dating to date. And the idea here is that you can date more than one person at a time. The men on my Facebook go nuts when I say this. And I always have to clarify. I didn't say sleep with 10 or 5 men or whatever at the same time. I said date, like an interview kind of process where you're getting to know different people and your relationship is not going to go any further than just getting to know each other until you actually know each other. Imagine that, right? And actually, here's another thing that most people don't think about. You can actually this person is just a friend that you're getting to know. There is nothing wrong with them being introduced to your child, coming for dinner, everything, sanitary, no boyfriend, girlfriend labels. Because imagine you take 6 months and get to know somebody, get attached to them, they get attached to you, you're sleeping together, you're building a relationship, then you introduce them to your child, and then it doesn't work out. So you want to know in the beginning how your child fits into that whole thing, how they feel, what they think. And you can be honest and open with your child. Like, you know what, daddy's gone or daddy and I not together. You know how well, in my opinion, in my case, it would be, we believe in family, 2-parent family. And, we are open to having a new dad in this home, in this case, it would be a stepdad. And, would you be open to meeting somebody? You can talk to them, feel free, all of that other stuff. And the funny thing is, actually, when your kids get to know people, you actually see how they interact with those people. And that should inform you some more about who that person is. And they can also know, is this a situation that they want to get into as well? Because there are, again, other people who've had great relationships. And then when the kids get into it, they have horrible kids. I'm sorry to say it. And then everything goes wrong. So that's just something to think about, which kind of gives a different perspective on the conversation. So you're not really throwing your kids into new people all the time, where they get attached to somebody, but you're kind of giving them the opportunity to get to know the people you're getting to know, and you're letting those people kind of see your kids in a very safe environment.
So I have a question. So when is this happening? Like, I think you mentioned 6 months. So are you waiting 6 months, or are you introducing your kids to people, not you specifically, just the advice that you're giving? Are you introducing them to people sooner than 6 months?
As soon as possible. I'm saying, usually people say, well, if I haven't known him for long enough for him to meet my kid, they usually say that. Or I don't know him well enough, I don't want him around my kid. But I'm just kind of proposing that, how about if you don't label anything, and just like how you can have an uncle or an aunt, a friend over for dinner, chat, and everybody's having fun, why not do that with your prospects? And actually, again, like I said, it informs you more about that person when you see how they relate to your child or to your children. And also your child has kind of like a say so, because you're trying to bring this person into their home and into their life.
Okay, Moya, you were doing this, Moya. What are your thoughts? And let me ask the chat. Give me some feedback. What do you think about that in the chat? What Nomalinga was saying. What are your thoughts on that in the chat? Moya, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, because I said, like, I do the friend thing, but I need some runtime. Like, there needs to be a leeway of me getting to know the person than that person. Because one of the things that you have to understand, especially in my experience with men really tell you what you want to hear. They tell you what you think will sound nice. So with that being said, I need to have time to decipher what's authentic, what's not authentic, and what this really is. And so, yeah, I would, and I do agree with Noma in the sense that, you might want to bring them around earlier in some settings that are just kind of open settings, but not necessarily the same time I'm knowing them is the same time that the kids will know them.
Joe, as a therapist, what kind of effect would that have on children if they're being introduced to your friends on a regular basis for a minute, and then they're there and then they're not there, or whatever the case might be? How would children react to that? I know my son, he knows it. He's gonna be like, what happened to Uncle John? Where Uncle Franco? What happened to Ben? Remember you brought Ben around? I'm not saying I'm not saying I know all the men's. I'm just saying.
You just pulled Franco out of thin air, huh? That's quite a name. It's quite a name. No, that obviously can get confusing to a child without having conversation, which once you are not with the person's biological parents anymore, conversations need to be had, like from the gate. You know what I mean? And an understanding about what our new normal is now. Okay. Listen, mommy is looking for love. Okay. I want to be loved again. Do you understand that? Are you, do you understand what I'm doing? But now anybody that, in my opinion, anybody that courts mom now has to court the children as well. Like you have, and if you're looking at going into a serious situation. So once we understand that, okay, now we a little bit more than just dating or just friends. Now we have to, see how things go with, you interacting with my children. But I got a question for you, Lene, because you said that you didn't want to choose between your son and a mate. So that made me curious. If you had stayed in a relationship with your son's father, would he then be number one? Or is your child still number one in
So since you asked, I'm going to be truthful and tell the truth. Okay. My son's father. So again, I told you I did not want to have kids. I knew I didn't want to have kids. when I got pregnant by my son's father, he already had a child and he was an amazing father. Like he was an amazing father. So the reason I have a child today is because he was such an amazing father. And I knew that no matter what happened, he was going to be a good dad to my son, to our child at that time. I didn't know I was having a son. And so after I had my son, I told you I threw myself into it. And I threw myself into it in a way where I know best. And so a lot of our issues came from, you don't listen to me, you do what you want to do, you think you have all the answers. And so it got to a place of, I can do it better than you. So we kind of just grew apart a little bit. Now let me say this. Some of that has to do with our living situation. We both lived in California. I lived in San Diego and he lived in Ontario, in like Orange County, Riverside. So I was literally taking care of our son Monday through Friday. He was just coming up on the weekends. So I kind of got into this space of, well, I'm doing everything by myself. So when I'm doing everything by myself, I'm kind of making all the choices and decisions, right? And so that created, distance. And so we got to a space of, I'm doing it all by myself. And so to answer your question, I don't think so. I don't think that I would have put him before my son because that was some of the problem. He felt like I put my son before him. Like the choices and decisions, like everything I was doing was geared towards him, my son. And it was because I didn't want to be a bad mom. So he got all my time, energy, effort, attention, everything went into him. So yeah.
Thank you.
Is it worth considering that I'm going to just stick to marriage and not, relationships that are different. Is it not worth considering that being a good wife is part of being a good mother? Because what we do when we're parents is we're role models. For our sons, we're role models in terms of what they should look for a healthy, functional wife. And for our daughters, we're role models in terms of what kind of wife they should be. And this is all assuming we are, doing our best and being our best. So that's how I look at it. Like actually putting your husband first is putting your child first, because what you're doing is you're creating a healthy and functional home that a child can grow up in, and just setting a good example for the child that this is how it works. This is how it should be. And I'm not excluding that there's other kinds of relationships or whatever, but like I said, I'm focused more on like marriage and family and the stability that you can offer a child.
Yeah, we were actually, we were actually in the process, we were engaged. So we were engaged, we were working towards marriage. And somewhere in between in all of that, I knew that he was not the man for me for the rest of my life. Like I knew that, right? He asked me very point blankly, like, do you love me? I do love you. Do you want to marry me? Yes, I want to marry you. Do you see us being together forever? No, I don't. And I was really upfront and honest. And so we took a step back to try to, regroup and get together and redo things. But I was willing to marry him and be with him for 18 years to be a family. And I knew that we weren't going to be together forever. So we didn't go that route. But he is today, he's one of my best friends. Like we get along great. We co-parent great. We kick it. We travel together. Like we get it in. We are great co-parents. He's a great friend. And so we're going to come back and we're going to talk about relationships from a different perspective. We have another clip that we're going to talk about around bringing people into your relationship and what does that look like, especially if you have daughters. And so we're going to go to commercial break. When we come back, we're going to go to our next clip.
I know you're busy, you got things to do, and you can't take us on the go with you every single day. Good news for you. We are now on Spotify. So if you can't watch us, now you can listen to us on Spotify. Search Fly Nubian Money and all the episodes shall appear. All you have to do is like, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, leave some comments, tell people how you love us so that when other people come along and are looking for a great show to watch, they can find Fly Nubian Money too. One last thing, and just in case you've been sitting under a rock, Fly Nubian Money now has an investment club. We are the Fly Nubian Money Club. It's easy. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com, and I am committed to bringing in top experts from all industries to help you level up. They're teaching us the skills that we need to compete in this market. We often say that nobody is coming to save us, not the government. But guess what? We're coming to save us. I'm coming to save you with the Fly Nubian Money Club. So listen, all you have to do again is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com. We have a 30-day free trial set up just for you, just for those people that are struggling. Even if you ain't struggling, you ain't got to struggle. I'm coming. Okay, let me stop playing. I'll see you soon.
All right, that's flynubianmoneyclub.com. Go and check it out. So we're going to pivot just a smidget, kind of say, I think what Moya was alluding to, because there's a variety of different reasons why a person may not date, right? I kind of talked about being a mom and those things, but there's also, who are you bringing into your household? Who are you introducing your kids to? And so we're going to watch this video and then we're going to come back and talk about it.
Single mothers, I need you to be careful, because oftentimes guys with wrong intentions seek you out because they know you're too busy to notice their inadequacies. How can you command more of his time when you got a child that's demanding most of yours? Single mothers are oftentimes more understanding of a busy lifestyle than a single woman would. And he uses that to his advantage. I'm saying there's nothing wrong with the way you move, single mothers. I think you should put your child first. I'm saying, though, even though that's what you should do, bad men or men with wrong intentions will prey on that and use your strengths as a weakness. There are men that have no intentions on wifing a single mother, but they will fuck her. They will play with her heart. For them, it's more convenient. They're like, she can't demand my time on a random Tuesday. So now that I got her on my team, I can now find other people to fit those roles. Be careful. That's all I'm saying.
First of all, if you watch any type of social media, you know he getting dragged for being toxic himself in his work environment. But we're not going to talk about that today. That's not the conversation. Moya, what are your thoughts when you hear that about single moms and or men? Because I don't know if it was more for single moms or more about the man. But what are your thoughts?
Well, I never thought in terms of this man is using me because I don't have a lot of time. That never crossed my mind. Like I've never encountered anything like that. Like they still want as much time as they can get.
And vice versa. I always tell, even when I was dating, like, because I'm dating through this whole period of time, right? And I used to, just because I'm a mom and my kid's involved in the things and I'm doing the things and whatever, I still have time and I still make time, right? Joe, you're smiling. What do you think? Is that how men think?
I'm smiling at Moya said they want as much time as they can get. Go ahead, girl. Go ahead, girl. At all. But no, I don't. I think that a certain man would think like that, maybe, possibly, but I mean, he more than likely be wrong most of the time. I don't think the fact that a woman has kids or has children has anything to do with her levels of desperation. Maybe sometimes it does come into play, but I just don't know if he is. I don't know if I agree with Floyd or not. Like, is he pandering or not? I'm not really sure. Like I said, I like to have conversations with single mothers so I can get it straight from the horse's mouth. I mean, y'all would be better suited to answer that question than I would. I don't think that's accurate.
Yeah, I've never come across a man who wanted less time or who didn't want to engage or who used my being a single mom against me. You know what I'm saying? You don't have the time, you can't commit, you're not around, you're not available. The ones who have, like, I had a really weird situation with a dude once who wanted to come into town to see me and wanted to stay at my house. And I was like, you can't stay at my house. Like, it's my son. He's like, I've known you. We've known each other for years. We've talked all, and I was like, yeah, but this is my house. You cannot come. You can come visit me. You can come into town. You can go to a hotel, all the things. We can kick it, all the stuff, but you cannot stay at my house. He talked to me for 3 years. We're cool. We're still friends. Like, we talk to this day and we go back and forth. I'd be like, remember that time you didn't talk to me for 3 years? But yeah, he gets it now, but for real,
Franco,
that him completely never, ever do you have a chance. We could be cool. We're friends. We do all the things. Oh, that little Tiffany's necklace I usually have on every day. He sent me that for graduation. We still cool to this day, but no chance in hell at all.
That was definitely Frank.
Yeah. All right. So for the panel, go ahead, Nomalinga.
The thing is, somebody who's a predator can take advantage of a single woman just in the same way he can take advantage of a single mother.
Right.
If that's what he's inclined to do. You know, a loser is going to be a loser regardless of whether you're a single mother or you're just single. And a good man's going to be a good man regardless of whether you're single or have a child. So I think that's not really relevant. Yeah.
Let me add to that too. You know, we're talking about serial single men who are just like want to be single and get as many women as they can. It's just like sharks. If you put blood in the water from a mile away, they're going to be attracted to that blood. So whether you're a single mother, single woman, or whatever kind of woman you are, if you are constantly putting out the roadmap to your vulnerability, I guess, or your time, or then some men are going to prey on that. They just are. You know what I mean? But you have to you have to meet your vulnerability with an equal amount of boundaries. You know what I mean? You got to be balanced in that type of situations. So you can be vulnerable and feel safe being vulnerable as long as your boundaries are included. You're not doing anything that makes you feel inadequate or uncomfortable. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Okay, I like that. I like that. See, this is why we got to have the king. We got to have that male presence on here to give us both dynamics. Okay, so let's go to our question. It was, we'll scroll back up here, and it was a good one for the panel. Do you believe that it would be more difficult to find a suitable marriage partner if you take yourself out of the dating market for a decade or more while your children grow up? Moya, I'm going to start with you with this question, being that you and I are both people who are, do you not date at all, or you date, but you have not introduced anybody to your children? I know we're going to answer that question, but I just want to make sure I understand your situation first.
Yeah. So yes, I date, but so dating with me is very binary, meaning like either I'm dating to take you serious and I feel like there's a possibility of marriage, or I'm dating knowing that this moment is just a good time. Like it's just, we're going to go hang out and this is going to be fun. So with that being said, I haven't dated anybody who I was like, oh, wow, I really feel like this can be more than what's presented. Now, that is a good question in terms of no way, right? So by that time, like I'd be like 50. So no, you definitely would want to date someone now, ideally looking to be with them for a longer period of time.
Okay. Let's ask the therapist real quick. Joe, do you think that if you've taken more than a decade to date, will it be more difficult?
Let me go back to something Moya said earlier when she was talking to her son. If I stop shooting free throws for 12 years or however long it's going to be, is it going to be more difficult for me to get out there and start shooting them and making them consistently? You know, if I take myself out of practice of anything for 10 or 12 years, it's going to be more difficult for me to go back into it. Is it impossible? No. Is it going to be more difficult? More than likely, yeah. You know, because you're out of practice with sharing your space with a person. You know, you don't know what you like and what you don't like because you've just been kind of catering to yourself and your children for a decade. So, you know, you don't know what you want in your space. You don't know what your boundaries are. You don't know what your needs are, what your unmet needs are. You don't know. But you learn those things going through the process of dating and dealing with people. So, I mean, I'm going to say yes, it's going to be more difficult.
Okay. Nobulenga.
So the other thing that people don't like to face is that women have what I call a window, where you have fertility, and that goes away. And people often get upset that you bring that up. But if you're gonna get into another serious relationship, possibly having children, 10 years out of the game is not gonna work. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the interesting thing about us women is that the longer we stay together, the more the longer we stay alone, the more comfortable we become with it. And you just may never get back in there.
So I will say that the longer I do agree with the sentiment, right? Because to like kind of what Nobulenga was saying, we're already dealing with a society, and I'm only talking about Black people and Black women, where we say we don't need a man. We're already dealing with that. And I've been combative in that arena to say to Black women, like, you might not need one, but don't you want one, right? Like, don't you want one? And recently I've been having conversations with my spin the block, who is like, no, you need one. And I'd be like, I don't need one. I just want one. He was like, no. He was like, well, what do I want to be around for? Like, am I an option? You just want one? You don't need one? So like, he's been kind of working with me on that. And he was like, if we're doing biblical, the woman came from the man. You are the helpmate. We help each other. Like, he's like, so I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, right. Like, in theory, it's supposed to be a man and a wife. In theory, it's supposed to be a mother and a father. So we need each other. He has a daughter, and I can see where she's missed things because she didn't have a mother. I have a son, and I can see where he's missed things because he didn't have his dad. So I get it. I better understand we need each other, right? And the longer you go without, the more super independent you feel. The more you start to think, well, I can do it by myself, the less vulnerable you are. So when you do actually have to come into a space with two people, it's more difficult to be vulnerable because you haven't had to share. You haven't had to be open. You had to share your space. When I set this here, it better be here when I get back. You move my stuff. It just changes the dynamics of things when you haven't actually had to be open and let somebody else into your space. And so that's the practicing piece, I think, that Moya and or Joe is talking about, where you have to keep pressing it. You got to keep doing it. You got to keep showing up. Let's go to this.
Just one more thing, Lene. Do you know what's interesting is us Black women are the only women that argue that we don't need our men. That conversation doesn't take place with other people in other places. They just don't. That's not even a conversation they have because it's so obvious that obviously you need a husband, and a man, it's obvious that he needs a wife. It's only us that, unfortunately, I mean, we need a whole nother show to explain why, but it's only us who ever even questioned, like, is it a need or is it a want? Because it is a need. It's biological, it's social, it's emotional, it's anything that you can rattle off that a normal human being needs. It's part of it.
We were created to love, to give, and to receive, right? So when we talk about need, it's not to say I think with a lot of times when we say we need, I think we feel like it's a weakness, right? Like, I don't need nobody. I'm independent. I can take care of myself. I always go back, but do you want to? Like, don't you want covering? Don't you want protection? Don't you want provision? Don't you want security? Like the things that a man is supposed to do and bring. I think some of the issue is, and this is another conversation, we just don't have it and see it enough regularly. So we feel like we don't need it because it's not often available to us. And that's a whole nother conversation. Let's go to commercial break and we'll come back and finish this conversation. Hey, it's Dr. Javette, Brand Your Brilliance Coach and Monetization Strategist. I am partnering with the Fly Nubian Money Club to help you turn your natural gifts into big business. I help my clients build 6- and 7-figure businesses by branding their brilliance. You know, that thing that comes easy to you, the thing that you can do with your eyes closed, that thing, that's your brilliance. And now it's your turn. Join me on February 22nd at 10 o'clock a.m. and I'll walk you through strategies that can change your life and business forever. Don't miss this opportunity to brand your brilliance. I'll see you in class. Yes, brand your brilliance. I cannot wait. I know what you guys are thinking. Am I going to show with my shoulders out on that day? I'm not, but I do love a good shoulder out, right? Branding your brilliance is all about that, right? It's stepping into the thing that makes you great and brilliant and creating a business and or a brand around it so you can make money doing what you're good at. So hopefully I will see you guys there. Is that next Saturday? That is next Saturday, the 22nd at 10 o'clock a.m. So let's get back into kind of what we left off with, which is no other community debates whether or not they need the other sex. And I think, and this is going to be really quick. I think that some of that is based on how we are reared. Some families don't have a man in their house or a father. And so you have women who are raising kids, and it's unfortunate that women will raise their daughters and nurture their sons. So we rear our daughters to be independent. Make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure you go to school. Make sure you do these different things. And in other communities, they raise their daughters, go to school and find a husband. Like everything is geared towards family and marriage. That's not necessarily how we are raised. We are raised to be self-sufficient and whatnot. And a lot of that comes from how our parents were raised. Joe, what do you think about that? And we're not going to do this one very long. Just I think it came up, so I think we have to kind of touch on it real quick.
Yeah, I think that, you're right about the upbringing and the rearing and all of that other stuff. And I think about a time when I had gotten laid off or whatever, and my wife really was like, "Hey, I got it, we good." And I heard my mind at the time, undeveloped, emotionally immature mind, that you didn't need me. Well, that's not what it is. Okay, all the things that you mentioned about security and a woman can do a man and a woman, they can do all those things independently and be fine. So, but we're all coming to this world with one thing, and that is the desire for affection and intimacy. You cannot do that by yourself. So saying that you don't need someone and you don't need another person for all those things that you mentioned may be accurate. But I think we lose sight of what it really is about. And it's about emotional connection and intimacy. And you just cannot do those things alone.
And that's the emotional, spiritual, why we were created part. Then there's like the business part, like two are better than one. Let's go to some stats. Let's look at some of what the stats say, right? So over 60% of Black children are raised in single parent households, which is the highest rate among racial groups. So we have the highest, right? So 62% of Black women say they are single, with many prioritizing financial security and children over relationships, which if they better understood that two-parent households or two people in the house could actually affect that. Studies show that married couples actually accumulate 4 times more wealth than a single individual, which raises concerns about long-term financial security for single mothers. So you need to. A 2018 study found that children raised in a single mother household were more likely to experience instability due to frequent changes in parental figures. Black women report higher levels of stress and loneliness when raising children alone, but also feel a strong sense of independence. So that last slide gets me, Moya. So we feel independent, but stressed and lonely. How do you feel about that? What are your thoughts? Do we got to give up one for the other?
No, I don't feel like you have to give up one for the other. I do feel so, Noah kind of pointed to this, like when she was saying, like, Joe with his notepad, when she was saying to, like, when you're dating, you date more than one man. So this is my thing. And remember, dating does not automatically mean sex, but it's a whole lot easier when you have a list of different male friends that you can go to when you need them, right? So when you're depending upon, and I think many women get it mixed up and they put their all into this one man, thinking that this one man is going to save them and do all of this for them. And it adds a lot of stress and pressure. But if you date and you got to know different men and you were able to assist, like the other day I was out and my tire was flat and I was like, oh my God, what do I do? And so if one didn't answer, then I called the next one and that one answered and they were able to help. Like you need assistance on different levels. Like I just feel like there's a different way to approach this than just, the way that this is presented at this moment.
Okay. Domalanga, you give me you got a little bit of this going on. What are your thoughts?
I hear what she's saying, and I if that's what works, okay. But that's not what I meant at all. I did not mean to use different men as substitute husbands because you don't have a husband.
Substituting a husband, but it's like if you're saying like I'm hoping this one person is going to be my husband. If you're dating multiple men, then what are you doing? You're just dating them, bringing to your house, and then being like, my kid likes you, and now we're together.
So the first thing is you're not going to do that forever. Typically, if you are serious about dating for marriage, it shouldn't go beyond about 3 months. Because here's the thing. within about 3 months, you should have all the information that you kind of need to know if you should continue or exclude. And there's nothing wrong with excluding somebody, not because they're bad or you're bad, but just because they're not fitting with, what you have, the vision that you have and the vision that they have for their future. The very fact that, you get tire punctures or you need stuff fixed around the house and all of that is indicative of the fact that a man is needed in the home. And there will be many, many times where you have to call an uncle or a brother or a male friend or whatever. And they are actually acting as substitute husbands because there is no husband in the home. There is no father in the home. In more traditional families, and I will say more African traditional families, you have more like a village raising a child. So what you often find is that the uncles of a child are called when the child is misbehaving or when something is needed where a mother recognizes that as a mother, I'm just not up to this. And the uncles are happy to step in. But that is still meant to be a temporary thing. It's not meant to be a lifelong thing where there's these substitutes all the time, because clearly that child needs a father and that woman needs a husband. It's a need.
Joe, from a therapist perspective, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm taking notes. I'm really taking notes. I'm hearing a lot of interesting things, and what I want to say is that society puts expectations on you sometimes as a woman. For instance, if you are a woman, like that said, 62% of women are mentioned something about financial security or whatever. So you're a woman that's financially secure and you invite a man into your space and he is meeting all of your needs, but he's not, I don't know, kicking in equal amount of finances and all the things that you think society tells you that you need from a man, then you're saying to yourself, I'm getting taken advantage of. Like that's the thought process that comes out from that. But in reality, all of your needs are being met. So I think sometimes we take our lead from society on what it is that we actually need from a man, when in reality, those are not the things that you need at all. Like, listen, if you want somebody to come out and change your tire, great. If you call me, I'm going to say, hey, I love you very much. Call roadside assistance. Because they're going to come and change your tire. I'll come out there and wait with you if that's what you need. I'll come out there and wait with you or wait for you. You can take my car and go home. But I'm just thinking about some of the certain things that's a silly example, I guess. But when I think about all the things that, and y'all do me better, y'all might do better than me with this. Tell me what you think that is that you need from a man, and what actually do you really need from a man? Like, what do you need?
So the whole thing of the tire thing, that is an example, because it goes back to the whole thing of even when men say to a woman, what do I need a woman for? Like, you guys just do A, B, and C, and I can get somebody to cook for me and do. So it's going along those type of conversations. So obviously what a man and a woman provide to each other isn't necessarily those things in terms of
right.
these acts. It's more something more intangible. So I do understand that. I do want to have a better understanding of this whole 90-day fiance thing. Like, you're just saying, like, within 3 months, 90 days, we'd be able to decide if we're going to, like, how many times do we need to go on a date? Like, is this us dating every day and then we're going to decide within 3 months this is the person for us, or this is us dating every other day? Like, how often are we dating to say, like, I think you and I need to be married?
The way I would look at it is, if you didn't have a job and you wanted to get back into the workforce, how much time and effort would you put into that? How often would you send out your resume, letters? How much time would you spend looking on the internet? And then when you finally do go for interviews, how many would you go on? See? And the answer is, it should be something that you do. Again, this is purposeful dating. This is dating for marriage. And I understand that we now have a culture where you can date for fun or just or whatever, that's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about purposeful dating where you're serious and you're not going to interrogate people and make them feel uncomfortable, but certainly certain things should come up in those conversations where you're clear about your purpose, and they have to clarify their purpose, because you want people who have the same vision for their future, or at least a similar vision for their future that you have. And you should be able to exclude people. You can actually tell in just one date sometimes that, oh no, thank you, because you just go, oh no, and then there are some people that you get to know and you're like, well, he thinks I'd like to know a little bit more. And you're thinking, I'd like to know a little bit more, which is why I say somewhere down the line, not too far down the line, you might want to introduce friends. You might want to introduce your children. And again, this is all kind of, I don't want to call it an interview process, but that's kind of what it is. This is a very serious decision that you're making. And ideally, when you get married, it's forever. So you should really take your time and be very intense about it without scaring off people. But the other thing is when you're very serious about dating, you're going to scare off people who are not serious. And that's a good thing. You're also going to scare off people who just want to be intimate with no commitment and no future. You're also going to scare those people off because that's off the table, even without you saying it.
So before we go to our final video and our final thoughts, right? I think that the whole process of dating as a single mom, right? There's so many layers to it, right? There's yourself getting back out into the dating field. There's that. There's do you want to introduce people to your kids and when? There's how are you bringing somebody into your home? Or if they have kids, how are you blending your families? Who's going to discipline the kids? There's so many layers to it that it's almost to this place where it's like, I'm just going to turn kids get grown. Like it's literally almost like that, because it's like, especially if the child's father is in place, like, are you letting some other man discipline your children? It adds so much to it. But I also see the other side of, I want to make sure that my children have a 2-parent home. So I don't know which one is right or wrong. I think it almost comes down to what's best for that person, those individuals, that family setting. Is there a father around? Is there not a father around? Joe, I'll ask you this quick question before we go to the last clip. Hypothetically speaking, if you and your wife were not together and she remarried, we know you would be an active parent, right? So you guys are separate. She remarries, she gets somebody is in her home. Would you feel comfortable with that person disciplining your children as their stepfather?
No.
So that creates a problem in their relationship. Maybe, maybe not, right? Because if this man is marrying her and blending the family, and these children live in his home, he is going to feel like he should be able to discipline the children. So you have to have there's so many different ways to look at this. It might be a problem, it might not be a problem. You might have two people that can get along. You might not. There's not that y'all can't get along, but there's just a lot that has to be worked out. Go ahead, Joe.
Ask me if I'm the man who is dating a single mother, do I even want to be able to discipline her children? You know what I mean? I don't.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't think, as an emotionally well person, I want to discipline another man's child. I don't want that for myself. I do want to be able to have open conversation with that child as a person, you know what I mean? And be like, hey, if I'm a responsible adult and paying bills in this house, I obviously have some boundaries and some standards that need to be met, and I can have a about that. But if the child is openly being disrespectful towards me, that's an issue for his parents. You know what I mean? So
then you would do that. Wait till your mom gets home.
I'm not gonna say wait till your mom gets home. I'm gonna say, look, we're gonna try to have a conversation about it. And like I said, if it doesn't go well, then I'm gonna end the conversation respectfully, and then maybe we can come back to it. I would not enter a relationship with a person if I'd at least give it a shot to have a healthy relationship with both parents. Now, that's not possible all the time, because sometimes these guys don't want to let go of that old thing. You know what I mean? And they hate everything moving in the household. So, but I would give it a shot. I would give it a shot. And if it can't be, then we're gonna have a conversation. That's all it is. I don't want to have to discipline somebody else's child. But speaking from personal experience, my oldest son is not my biological son. So I raised somebody else's child, and I gave that person an option, an opportunity to be a father, and he didn't take it. So now this is my son. So now I discipline him because he's my son.
And that's different. That's why I specifically said if the other parent was here. So the point I was making is that there's layers to this conversation. And I think it's applicable to say that it depends on the circumstances and the situation of the individuals that are going through it. Go ahead, Norman. Then we got to go to this last video.
So again, we do always have to consider that the child going to live with their father is an option. So that's part of the conversation. Is sometimes it really won't work there, especially if they're older and they're male. It's just going to be bucking, with this new man trying to, get in my territory, get in my space. And sometimes it's just really not going to work. And that child would be better off with their father. And actually at the new home where their father is, even if their father has a new wife or a partner or whatever, there isn't a question about whether he should discipline his child or not. And it actually doesn't sound that weird that if the child has an interaction with the stepmother, that she can say, okay, I'm going to back off and your father's going to have to deal with this. That works more naturally.
So that opens up another can of worms. Now you have, it's the same thing, just in a different situation. So now you have the mom who's like, this woman can't discipline my child. This woman can't tell my child what to do. So
I don't think it's only, I'm sorry, Dr. Lene.
Right. No, go ahead.
I don't think it's only this person's not able to discipline my child. I think there's another layer of raising a healthy human at stake here. Because disciplining your child is one thing, but also having your child having the ability to speak up and have a voice and being able to properly advocate for themselves. Then they're just shut down because in that household, they don't listen to them. And so how do they start to, how do they become healthy on that aspect? So I just think it's layers to it, as you're saying.
Yeah, I think that there's layers, and I think that every circumstance is different. I do believe when we start talking about Black excellence and Black family and moving our community forward, it happens first at home. So I do think that there should be a man and a woman, a mom and a dad, bonus mom, bonus dad, step parent, whatever the case might be, two energies, right? That masculine energy, that feminine energy, the nurturing energy, the rearing energy. I think that both of those things need to be in a home, and that it is, let me see, reciprocity maybe. So from the perspective of both sets of parents understand what the goal is, so that there's no frustration and anger and all that kind of good stuff. Like it has to work. It has to be able to blend, or else it's going to be static and it's going to be bad. So our last video was basically talking about giving single moms hope. Like, just because you're a single mom doesn't mean you can't find love. Just because you're a single mom doesn't mean that it's over for you. Just because you're a single mom doesn't mean you can't date, right? Because you will watch a clip like the one that we started with and think that, man, I guess I gotta wait. I guess I can't date. I guess it's not possible for me, and it is, right? So let's do our final thoughts. We'll start with you, Moya. What are your final thoughts on our conversation today around, is it too risky to date while raising kids?
I think it really depends on the parent's situation and what they're really looking for and where they're at in their life. But if you ever had any questions in regards to your taxes and funding for college and scholarships and how do you find the best college for your child, definitely you can always reach out to me at moya.business. Or if you had any questions and you just wanted to see what offerings that I have, you can always go to www.moya.tax.
Thank you, Moya. And I love that wrap, sis. You is wearing it. All right. No Malenga, your final thoughts and where people can find you.
Okay, so yeah, I'll make my final thoughts quick, and just answer your question that is it ever too late for anybody? No, it's not. I've talked to so many women, coached women, mentored women. And the truth is that becoming a wife is something that you can, for lack of a better word, train to be, or adjust and kind of lean into. So it's not something that's ever too late or out of reach for anybody if they are willing and they're open to it. And I'll leave that's just there. You did introduce me as the founder of PassForOurGirls.com. Pass for Our Girls is a foundation that I founded. It's a charity. And what we do is we provide sanitary pads for young girls in schools and in here we call them shelters, girls' shelters or women's shelters. And we provide sanitary pads for them who are underprivileged. So you can go to PassForOurGirls.com if you would like to donate and support us.
Awesome sauce. Thank you so much. All right, Joe Corleone, your final thoughts for today, Doc?
Yeah, I just say get ready to adjust to your new normal, whatever that might be. I don't necessarily support cutting yourself off or limiting your needs for the sake of your children. I do not support that. I believe in open and honest conversation with children and getting them to understand that, hey, dad ain't here no more, dad's gone, or dad was never here, whatever it is, but your mom is a human being. So giving them an opportunity to see you as a human being and open yourself up to the dating world and just keeping conversations open, making sure the space is available for them to ask questions if they have questions, and know that their place in your life is always solidified regardless of who I'm dating. Now, it gets complicated when you start trying to, push them out, because some people do that, put their new partners over their children, and I don't recommend that either. But have open and honest conversations, but never, 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 never dim your light or try to squeeze yourself into a space that doesn't fit you, just to meet somebody else's needs. I don't care if they're your kids or not, and I mean that when I stand on that when I say that. But you can find me at realuconsulting.com, where I am seeing clients on the regular, accepting new clients currently. You can log on there and you can book your consultation right from there, and we can get started. We can start talking immediately.
Don't you have a podcast?
And I do have a podcast that comes on. We're talking relationships this month only. And you know what? I just got an episode to talk about blended families. So that might come up in March. We're going to talk about blended families in March. Y'all gave me the idea. But this month, we're talking about relationships, how to stay together. Okay. We're talking about folks that's together and understanding what it takes to stay in a committed relationship and adjust yourself to new normals all the time. And just to piggyback on this topic, man, listen, needs change, folks. Needs change. So have open communication with your partner and be ready to discuss what needs are being met, what needs are not being met, and keep having fluid conversations about that. Period.
I love it. So this is what this would be my final thought, and that is, if I could do it over again, I would do it differently. When I'm doing it, I'm thinking I'm doing it right. I'm 23, 24 when I first have my son, and I'm terrified, right? So I'm just giving everything, all the energy into that. I'm not listening to anybody. I had a village, but what I said went, right? You don't tell me anything. I'm very protective of my son, but I'm also prideful. So I'm trying to do everything right. So even though I'm getting the advice, and I got really cool homeboys who are trying to tell me certain things to do and certain ways to be and different things to do, and I did not listen. And I'm seeing some of those things today. One of the things that my son says to me today, because he's older, I think in the Malingos, somebody was talking about advocating for yourself. I think it was Moya. And so now that he can advocate for himself, he'll tell me things like, man, I really wish I had grown up with a dad in the house, right? But I didn't think about that. I mean, even just siblings, like I wish I had siblings. I didn't even have more kids because I didn't think I could split my love up between them. So I only had the one. And so if I could do it again, I'm sure that I would do it differently. I would have prioritized having someone in my life, but also I would have prioritized having someone in his life on a more consistent and regular basis. Now he tells me things like, I don't want you to be alone, Mom, because I don't want you to have to live with cats for the rest of your life. He tells me that. And then the other thing he says is, if you're alone for too long, I'm just going to get a house and put you and Dad in the house together, and you guys can live the rest of your days out loud. And I'm like, man, if I don't find me a husband quick and fast, because you're not about to put me in a house with your dad for the rest of my life. But yeah, like it feels complicated. It does feel like, there's so many things that have to happen in order for it to work out, to bring somebody into your home or to move into someone's home when you have kids. But I think when you have the right person at the right time who's willing to work through things to make it right, it can work. So that's my hope and prayer for all of you guys today. So this is Fly Nubian Money. You can catch us every day, Monday through Friday at 1:00 p.m. Eastern. Here in our podcast, or if you miss us here, you can catch us on Spotify. If you go and search Fly Nubian Money, you can catch us there. You can also go to flynubianmoney.com. There's free tools and resources for you. You can also sign up. You get a 30-day free trial. I'll be teaching a class this next Saturday, February 22nd, called Brand Your Brilliance, where I'm going to show you how to take the thing that makes you you, that makes you brilliant, and how to build a business and brand around it. And then you can also, like I said, sign up at flynubianmoneyclub.com, or if you want to get notified when we're live, text the word Queens to 87948. That's 87948. Thank you to my wonderful, we had a great conversation today. Thank you to the panel. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Nomalanga. Thank you, Moya. As always, we will see you guys tomorrow. It's Valentine's Day. It's the day of love. And we will be here tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day today. Be blessed, be black, and be one. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
The smartphone in your hand owes a lot to one incredible engineer. Meet Jesse Russell. Born in 1948 in Nashville, Tennessee, Jesse Russell didn't just follow the tech wave, he helped create it. After earning his degree in electrical engineering, he joined Atan D.T. Bell Laboratories. And here's where it gets exciting. In the 1980s, Russell was a pioneer in digital cellular communications. Russell saw the potential of wireless technology way before it was a thing. His work focused on moving from analog to digital systems. This shift meant clearer connections, more efficient transmissions, and the foundation for today's mobile networks. Yes, the very tech that powers your smartphone. But wait, there's more. Jesse Russell holds numerous patents in wireless communication, making his mark on the industry undeniable. So next time you swipe, tap, or stream, remember, you're holding a piece of history. Jesse Russell, the unsung hero behind your smartphone's tech.